As-Salaam Alaikum and welcome to another fantastic episode of the Rise Magazine podcast. This is the visual and audible representation of the baddest magazine on the planet Earth, smashing records everywhere it goes, none other than Rise Magazine itself. This is the Rise Magazine podcast, and today we have an absolutely fantastic program set out for you. But before we go any further into discussing what that is, we have got to open up, as we always do, by calling on the God in prayer. So at this time, please assume whatever position of prayer you find most comfortable, and we pray. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, all praise is due to Allah, the Lord of the worlds, the Beneficent, the Most Merciful, Master of this day of judgment in which we now live. Thee alone do we worship, and thine aid do we seek. O Allah, guide us on the right path, the path of those upon whom thou hast bestowed thy favors, and not the path upon whom thy wrath has been brought down, nor those who go astray. Ameen. All praise is due to Allah. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Most Merciful, I bring that there is no God but Allah. Muhammad is his messenger. I greet you all, beautiful audience and listeners, in the greeting words of peace of As-Salaam Alaikum. My name is Brother Hashim, and I will be helping to moderate this wonderful discussion we will be having today, which is socially victimized minds. Black men discuss mental health. And we know that this is a major issue within our community. So this is definitely an important topic that we are going to be having today. But before I go any further, we have got to go ahead and be ready to hear some words from the founder of not only the Rise Magazine podcast, but also of Rise Magazine itself, a very hard-working, a legend of a man. And you all know who I'm talking about. I'm talking about none other than the former Supreme Captain of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. I'm talking about none other than the Southern Regional Minister of the Nation of Islam under the leadership of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. I'm talking about a disciple and student of the Honorable Minister Farrakhan, a great man, a leader and a teacher and a student, a soldier, none other than Student Regional Minister Abdul Sharrieff Muhammad. At this time, I turn it over to you, sir, so we can hear some words from you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Bismillah Rahman Rahim. I bear witness that there is no God but Allah. Muhammad is his messenger. And on behalf of the Honorable Louis Farrakhan, I'd like to extend the greetings of As-Salaam Alaikum.
Alaikum salam, sir.
Thank you all so very much for tuning into Rise Magazine podcast. This subject to this afternoon is a very important subject, especially because it's dealing with young black men that oftentimes go unnoticed. And after going unnoticed, then they are in denial. But we have a beautiful panel today, and I want to thank each and every one of the panelists for coming on, because this subject is so important. And I pray to Allah that you all get the right understanding from this, and we can go forth helping our young black men so they won't have to be in denial or shame, because we have the solution by the grace of God. So I want to turn it over to the host tonight. Thank you all so very much for coming on. We love you. We love you. Thank you so very much. As-Salaam Alaikum.
Praise be to Allah. Wa alaikum salam, sir. Thank you so much, Regional Minister. All praise is due to Allah. So, without any further ado, we've heard some wonderful words from one of our great men of our time, Student Regional Minister Abdul Sharrieff Muhammad, and we are now ready to begin our program today. So, if our tech team, if we can begin to bring in our wonderful guests so that we can go ahead and begin our program. If you can all go ahead and please just, before we start, go ahead and introduce yourselves a little bit and tell us about what you do. So starting from the bottom, starting with Brother William, Brother King Hollis, great motivational speaker, and moving on to Brother Desmond, Brother David, and on.
I am William Hollis, originally from Pontiac, Michigan, international speaker, author, spoken word artist, etc., but a hungry student of Master Prophet Muhammad and Honorable Elijah Muhammad and Louis Farrakhan. Honored to be on here today.
Praise be to Allah. Honored to have you, my brother. Brother Desmond?
Beautiful. Thank you. My name is Desmond, Brother Desmond Mohammed. I'm a registered nurse by trade. I've been a nurse since 1998. Right now, I'm a facility administrator for a dialysis clinic, but I used to also work with in the emergency room department for mental health in the intake department. I did that for 2 years. In Florida. So I do have some experience with the process, diagnosis, and also bringing people back to society to try to sustain their lives. Thank you.
Praise be to Allah. Brother Student Minister David.
All praise is due to Allah. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. As-Salaam Alaikum. I'm Brother David Muhammad, Assistant to Student Regional Minister Abdul Sharrieff Muhammad, who I thank for allowing me to be on this wonderful platform of Rise Magazine podcast. I'm also a teacher by trade and a student. Thank you. As-Salaam Alaikum.
Thank you. Brother Hassan.
As-Salaam Alaikum.
Islam.
I'm probably the least qualified of all of you. By trade, I am also a nurse. I've been a nurse for 18 years, going on 19. The first job I had as a nurse was working in a county jail and seeing our brothers and sisters come through and realizing how detrimental, and pointed the mental health issue is for our brothers and sisters who are locked up. I currently work in emergency room as an emergency room nurse. I worked ICU, and again, working in emergency room is like seeing our brothers and sisters in jail with their mental health issues. Because one thing I learned in nursing school is one thing that I remember offhand that my teacher taught is that it's all psych. So I've come to realize what she meant by that. And I'm happy to be here. I thank Student Minister Abdul Sharrieff Muhammad for allowing me the opportunity to come on.
Praise be to Allah. My brother Mukaddin, introduce yourself.
Yes, sir. My name is Mukaddam Muhammad, and I am a youth. I'm glad to be on here today with everyone. It's good to be with my fellow brothers, yes, sir. And I've been working with the 9 ministries for a little while now, so I'm enjoying myself, yes, sir.
Praise be to Allah. Glad to hear.
Awesome.
Great.
Praise be to Allah. So, you've heard from our wonderful guests, and we're going to go ahead and get to talking about this topic. So, we know definitely that today Black men are leading in many of the mental health cases, specifically here in America. So let's just starting off simple. Just why do you think that is? Why is it that Black men are leading? And apparently, I guess I need to introduce myself as well. So, As-Salaam Alaikum. My name is Brother Hashim, director of the 9 ministries here in Southern Region under Student Minister Sharrieff. But back on topic. Why do you think it is that Black men here, specifically in America, are leading in many of the world's mental health cases? Why do you think that is? Starting off simple.
Is it open to everyone?
That's open to anybody.
Yeah. Well, firstly, again, like those who preceded me, thank you to our Student Regional Minister, Brother Abdul Sharrieff Muhammad, for this great platform and for his giving us an opportunity to speak on the subject matter. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan said that stress is defaulting duty. So the inability to cope or not having the requisite knowledge to respond to the stresses is that which causes the dysfunction and the imbalance. Once we're imbalanced, then it begins to take a physiological toll on our body, meaning how our bodies work. So the chemical imbalances in the brain begins to overcompensate for always being stressed. And so black men in particular being under a system that does not have our best interests in mind, where white supremacy and black inferiority is the order of the day, then we're chemically imbalanced. So it begins with the spiritual, of course, but then physiologically, we tend to be out of whack, imbalanced, and then we respond in a manner that proves that we can't cope. And so at the end of the day, suicide is on many of our minds.
Wow.
I like to affirm that. I also I think we have to look at the true nature of the black man, and the true nature of the black man is to be that lion. You know, he's to be the head. He's to be the representative of God and God Himself. You know, and God Himself, representative of God Himself. So there's a dichotomy here. And on one hand, his nature is that of God. On the other hand, he's been made subjective and a slave. So his nature is striking out, and this is what you see and notice with the violence and the just the lack of being head of the household. His nature is striking out, but if he just had some guidance, if he just had that true understanding of himself, then, you know, what you see as being destructive can be that which can be creative.
Brother Hashim?
Go ahead. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. And I concur with my brothers, absolutely. My first thoughts are that the black man is under attack by forces that he does not fully understand. And like my brother Hassan said, because of our present condition, we're not able to successfully withstand or surmount an adequate defense against the negative forces that are against us. And a lot of that is tied to us functioning in a condition that is outside of our true nature. One key thing that Abu Mrs. Farrakhan said, he said that to know one's nature is the very essence of self-knowledge. And this knowledge has been taken from us as a people. We have not known our true nature. Spiritually, our nature, as the Honorable Elijah Muhammad has taught us through the Honorable Mrs. Farrakhan, is to submit our will entirely to do the will of God. And we also have a nature as a man, our masculine nature in which God has created us. We have been taken out of both natures. And so as long as we exist in an unnatural state, then we will never be happy. Our nature being to surrender to the will of God, that means that to submit to God, the reward for submission is to be rendered into a state of peace, to have contentment of mind.
Wow.
And as long as we function in a condition where we are actually in rebellion against God, rebellion against our true self, rebellion against nature, then we can never have true contentment of mind. We can never be at peace, and we can never be happy until we accept nature and act in accord with the nature. And so we're talking about mental health. And so to understand the whether something is healthy, we have to know the original design, to know and understand whether or not it is in sound condition. And so the Honorable Elijah Muhammad teaches that the very brain cell of man is created to think rightly. And so we have been trained to think wrongly in this world, and we have not had the proper spiritual diet. Therefore, we are malnourished, we're weakened mentally. And if we're weakened mentally, how can we be strong physically? How can we withstand the awesome pressure of living through the change of words?
Right. Beautiful.
to follow up with Brother David, today I took my morning walk and something came in my mind. I was thinking about the black man, and I was thinking about how we fight for our lives, but in the process we save lives. That saving lives is which our family, our wife, our children, and everything. And it's basically like a person taking 1,000 bullets, but nobody else can see it. The family can't see it. The wife can't see it. But at the end of the day, we're taking these bullets to save our family life. And I believe that sometimes in the black man's life, not sometimes, but most of the time, we have to literally relearn how to operate as a man. Basically, like the Dianetics that the nation offers is one of the greatest tools I've ever seen in my life, as far as getting down and breaking down the core of a human being. Basically, learning where all the trauma came from. And I believe with us as black men, we got to literally bump our heads before we learn the lesson sometimes, because we don't get the proper education. So what we got right now is, as I noticed, like the Brother Berries of the nation and Minister Abdul Sharrieff Muhammad, they go into the bluff on a regular basis. It's one of the most inspirational things I've ever seen. And they literally try to tap into some of the most broken human beings that's walking the earth. And only person that has the power to do these type of things is Allah, and it is God. And what I realized by going to study groups with Brother David and listening to him and watching my peers, I realized that this discussion, we're not going to have to talk about it for long, because I believe that God is forcing his hand amongst all men and women amongst the world, because he's showing them that we are no longer in control. We are completely controlled at his highest power. And if we don't bow down to God, if we don't submit our lives to God, we're going to crumble. And I can say from my own testimony, by being this big motivational speaker and having all of these people listen to me, I was still broken. And to get down to the nutshell of the answer, it's a lot of black men that haven't identified their purpose yet. And I realize that the only way you can understand your purpose as a man is understanding your job that you must do for God and not for yourself. And I realize the worst thing a man can do on this earth is to live his entire life without realizing his purpose and his true potential as a black man. So for me, I believe the main reason of mental health and suicide is the black man not realizing, one, that he's a God, and two, that he's not in control. Only God is. And once we realize to get out of God's way, we'll start to live a better life. And the lack of love also is one of the main reasons why our black men don't want to live anymore, because we sacrifice ourselves by getting up and working every single day. But the black man is one of the most unappreciated beings on the earth. And yet we're still one of the most powerful beings on the earth. But if we do not know our greatness, if we do not know how phenomenal we are and how loved we are by our Creator, we will never learn to love for ourselves, and we'll continue to want to die rather than live. And if you don't know where you come from or what you represent, you're not going to want to live. That's why I believe that it's imperative that we spread the word of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, Louis Farrakhan, Master Fard Muhammad. We spread their message right now, because right now the message is needed more than ever. And this is how we want to save them.
Beautiful. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Wonderful. Mukadeen, go ahead.
Yes, so if I may add, I'd just like to say, in dealing with youth, I believe that, like Buttle David was saying, and just now Brother Whalen, that since we black men and black youth aren't walking towards their purpose, they don't know what their purpose is, and many of us may be in an unproductive state that could add pressure or stress that we don't realize. So, because we're naturally meant to be producers, that could add that stress on us, and we don't even know it. And also the condition that black people are in is also a part of it. And the society, especially in America, is meant to target black men, black young men. So that's why the stress is like that on us.
Praise be to Allah. Yes, sir. Most definitely. And Brother Hollis, man, you said, thank you, Brother Lucas. Thank you, everyone who answered. They all answered beautifully. And Brother Hollis, you said something that you kind of cut into another question, actually, because you were talking about the appreciation factor. And that is something that definitely, and the ministers talked about that a lot, everywhere we go, it's like the black man can't catch a break, no matter where we go to the job, get dogged out there, come home, get dogged out at home, trying to go to the store, get dogged out by a brother. Everywhere we go, it's like you can't catch a break. But that was the next question that I wanted to ask. Do we think that the lack of appreciation what role does the lack of appreciation and positive reinforcement play in the mental health of black men? What role does that play? What role does the lack of positive reinforcement play in the mental health of an individual?
I think it plays a gigantic role in a man's life because it's demoralizing, right? You make it out of the slums, you make it out of the projects, you get to a certain level in your life where you finally have a dinner table, a family, and you would think, coming from where we come from, a lot of black men, we are motivated by the struggles of our mothers. So once we grow, and a lot of us men, we lose our mothers sometime before we get married in life, and we will start to look at things. I know I used to start to look at things in the way that, okay, I remember my mother not having a lot, and I know that the man that I am, if I could have been that man to my mother as far as taking care of her, providing her, showing her that she's a queen, that she is, I know she would have appreciated it. So when you come out of the slums and you build this family and you come in the house every day and you literally putting your life on the line, your health, your everything to push through and to provide for your family, and yet it may be a woman or by another situation, a man that's ungrateful to the situation that you have presented. And people don't understand, as a black man, they don't know how hard we fought to change our demographics in our life, and to set and come home and maybe be in a situation where you're not appreciated. It's demoralizing. It's like a man it doesn't change. When you're a child, you want to do things to make your mother proud. When you're a man and you fall in love, you want to do things that make your wife proud. So if she's not proud of the things that you're accomplishing, it feels like nothing. And it can go back to an instance of an athlete. They call athletes cocky, right? But if you don't realize that athlete, he might be a star athlete, but his mother or his father never came to a game. They never rooted him on. So now this man has to turn into a person that roots himself on. He got to tell himself how great he is. But in the process, in the world, they believe that it's selfishness or it's cockiness. And then that's the vice versa. It's the same thing that happens in a relationship. A man starts to talk to his wife and tell him, I'm the man. I do this. I do all these things. But our reality is not that he want to talk about himself. He wants you to tell him how amazing he is and how great he is. But he has this rough and tough outer layer on him that he doesn't want to ask for it. He wants it given, and when it's not given, sometimes this leads to infidelity, cheating, all kinds of things. And it really can be nipped in the bud by just what you said, appreciation. So I think appreciation is a major fact in mental health in Black men in general.
Praise go ahead, brother William. Go ahead. Praise be to Allah. Beautiful, beautiful man. Yes, sir. Go ahead, brother David.
All praise is due to Allah. You know, one thing that comes to mind is this one thing that makes the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, as taught and represented by the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, so absolutely valuable. You know, like the Bible says, is there a balm in Gilead, to heal the sin-sick soul? You know, the Black man is a wounded soul. And the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, in giving us the knowledge of self directly from God, it helps to bring proper balance to the unfed, even the starved ego of the Black man, towards we've never really gotten that appreciation and encouragement in a world that was set up against us, constantly under attack. But in the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, for the first time, we learned who we are, and the healing process begins. Because in this world, we are functioning with a starved ego, and we are reaching outwardly for that which makes us to feel appreciated, that which helps us to feel whole. But then we have to come to know that the source of our feeling whole and feeling complete and feeling appreciated is never truly external, but is internal. And the only external connection, which is also internal, is a proper connection to God. When we properly align ourselves, connect our soul, our mind, our heart to God, then that helps to feed that void that is in us, so we won't constantly reach outwardly, because it's twofold. We have to learn to appreciate ourselves and to feel valuable, which that comes from a proper relationship with God and a proper knowledge of our creation as the glory of God. And then we also have to learn how to appreciate others. Of course, how can we appreciate others if we don't appreciate ourselves? So it goes hand in hand. But sometimes when we strive to get others to appreciate us, many times we have to be the example. When we want to see change in other people, it's best that we are the example of the change that we desire to seek. If we are trying to inspire our wives or other loved ones to appreciate us, let's be the example of showing appreciation, showing that we love them, showing that we care for them, showing that we appreciate them. And that will help to inspire a likeness in terms of activity coming back in our direction. But that is what I would say about that. Thank you.
Praise be to Allah.
Yes, sir.
Thank you both for your exposition of the truth and the angle from which you came. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, in words are light, life, and power. In words are light, life, and power. Part of the recognition or appreciation, to appreciate is to acknowledge. It's to recognize. And those are tools that are used. But at the base of appreciation is full worth. It's recognition of your full worth. So the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, every time you look at the Black man, you're looking at God. He's given us our full worth. And so in giving us the knowledge of who we are and our relationship to him, and then teaching us how to worship him, his way of devotion, teaching us how to eat, teaching us how to think, how to pray, teaching us how to live, then that immediately begins to give us incrementally our self-worth. To augment what Brother David said, some things are means to an end. And Brother David gave beautifully what the end result should be. But I would say to the general public to listen to the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan because the words that he offers can induce us, can stimulate us, can serve as I would say, an inducement to going towards the end that Brother David speak out, which is that personal relationship with God. Most of us don't know how to do it. That's just the honest to God truth. But we can learn how to appreciate ourselves and learn how to do everything that Brother David said. And what we can say is the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, for over 67 years, has been a good steward over the affairs and the best interests of the Black man. So what does the appreciation does in my closing? There, serotonin, these are neurotransmitters. There's dopamine, oxytocin, endorphins that helps to balance our brain. These are your happy, your mood, cognition. So once there's recognition, there's acknowledgement, there's appreciation, it immediately begins to balance you chemically. And once we're balanced, then we can actually see and begin to see our full potential. But if we're imbalanced, it doesn't matter what you give to us. Our imbalance will always cause, you understand what I'm saying? A disturbance or a reaction in most cases that's not healthy. In most cases, because we're not appreciated and we don't recognize our self-worth, we can't even imagine ourselves being fully recognized in a society where you can handcuff a man, a white man that shoots down, a plethora of people, and you come out alive, and then there's a Black man on the other hand who's unarmed and could be shot at 90 times, hit 60 times. How do you begin to recognize your full worth in a society like this? And then you get an acquittal sometimes, and in many cases in the court system. So socially victimized. There's something about the society that causes us to be harmed psychologically. So we are socially victimized because we live in a society that does not administrate, and we're under a people that does not have the heart, according to the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, to administrate the good words and the preamble of the Constitution. So ultimately, we're going to have to turn to God and turn to his mouthpiece, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, to literally get what's best for us so that we can become balanced spiritually, mentally, morally, and socially. And then that'll begin to change the brain chemistry, and then we can reach homeostasis and balance physically also. But to think that we can reach homeostasis and balance with pills, we're making a sad, sad, sad mistake. It's going to take that spiritual balance that Brother David so beautifully spoke about, and then we can see ourselves coming back to our state and our nature, which is to be productive. It's the nature of the Black man is righteousness and to be productive. So I would say recognition, yes, it's a great thing, but full recognition from God is what we're after.
Sure. I would say that, also there's an evolutionary process to life. And the ultimate goal is to be one with Allah. And in this world, in society, under what's called the wilderness of North America, we have not really been taught who we are and our true condition. So, one of the attributes of Allah is the Most High or exalted. And we carry those attributes of Allah. So in our ignorance and misunderstanding, and again, going back to the nature, we lash out, and it's that aspect of Allah, just like it's the aspect of Allah in man when they see performers and people are swooning over the performers. They're really swooning over the God in that person that gives them the talent, that's representing the talent. So when you see some of our brothers lashing out, some of us just lashing out, a lot of times, it's like Brother David said, and Brother Minister Desmond said, it's the lack of that connection to the God. So the evolutionary process is when we grow, when we're born into a family, our parents are the ones that give us that connection. Our connection is first with our parents. Many of us as youth and Black people nowadays, particularly nowadays, it's a little different from when I came up, but more so nowadays, it's that connection with the parents is volatile. I look at today's youth as compared to ours. My grew up in the 70s, so it's even different from then. But the connection between the parents is hardly there at all. So we don't have that direct line that guides us to God, and what's the word I'm trying to get there? Uh, so our evolution is stunted. Our growth to Allah is stunted, and when your growth is stunted, you see an immature uh, 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 manifestation. So we want to be the spotlight. We want to be the most high, but Allah has 99 attributes, and those 99 attributes balances the most high. It balances all that. But because we don't have an environment, because we don't have the proper guidance from, say, parents, say, community, which would mitigate some of the toxic ideas and thoughts that come about from a society that has gone adverse to God's law. Since we don't have that, what you have is what you have now. You have a psychology within the Black man that causes self-harm. And when you have from the medical perspective, when you have self-destructive individual, you see some patients who have psychological issues come in, and they're cutting themselves. They're self-harming themselves. They're self-harming themselves because they don't have control of their own self. They have the environment has control of them. They have never learned to that self-worth. They have never learned that self-control, because they've been controlled. And it's not that parents control them. It's the society, which is toxic within itself, that's controlling them. So the only way they can control themselves is, like the serotonin that Brother Desmond mentioned, is to cut themselves so that those chemicals can come and calm them down. Those chemicals can be released from the neurons, and they can calm themselves down, and they feel a sense of control at that point. But again, the goal is to be one with Allah, but we're stunted in our growth, and we're stunted because the environment we have is adverse to God's rule, which doesn't feed our nature. Our parents aren't there to guide us to the proper path of God. So we're out there aimlessly, and the only one we can, point to is like cutting ourselves. It's ourself. So we exalt ourselves, but it's an official exaltation. It's an artificial exaltation, and this is what you have all over. The image of the Black man is violent, is this, that, and the other, or he's sex fiend or what have you. But we would need, look at the Honorable Mr. Louis Farrakhan. He doesn't need somebody to exalt him. He has self-confidence. He's self-assured. and that comes with growth and being one with Allah.
Beautiful. Praise be to Allah. Thank you. Wonderful.
Yeah.
Brother
Brother
Muhyiddin?
Yes,
Hashim,
sir.
I think the youth wanted to say something.
Yes,
Yeah.
sir. Yes, sir. Go ahead, Brother Muhyiddin.
I just wanted to add to what the rest of you brothers were saying, and I liked all of what you had to say. And a part of being appreciated is, especially for the youth, they have to know the knowledge of self. And people may like tell them that like you're the future, but they have to know why they're the future and how that really makes sense. How what place the youth have in the new world that Allah is trying to make, because most Black young men are ignorant to who they are, and most Black men in general, they don't have the knowledge of self. So we have to let them know that they're gods and really their place in Allah's world, because in this society we seem to be at the bottom, but in reality we're supposed to be at the top. So we have to know that. Yes, sir.
Right. To Allah. And Brother Muhyiddin, I believe you have a question as well.
Yes, sir. I can read one. This is one I thought would be good for a few of you to answer, especially those of you in the medical field. So, what are some ways that you have been successful in eliminating stress? And how would you advise people to eliminate stress to improve their mental health?
Well, one of the things that you can do is to do something that's fun for you. Exercise is a good one. And then do something that you love doing, because you begin to elicit endorphins, and the neurotransmitters, which are the happy mood transmitters, that can help to balance the brain. Part of the problem with us is we've become predictable even to our own selves. So boring that we actually can predict our behavior, because we do the same thing cyclically over and over and over again. Most of our lives are predictable. We have to try something new, get up and do something different. You can't do the same thing 365 days a year. There's no excitement. So many of us, our own minds are bored with us. Like, I know you, Brother Desmond. You about to go to sleep, wake up, go to work, come home, wiggle your toes. Next day, I know you, Brother Desmond. You about to wake up, go to work, go to sleep, wiggle your toes. Got to snap out of it. Break the monotony of being so predictable to our own selves and do something exciting. If you would, do something different, scenic, right?
Right.
Look up the places to visit within your own city. Go for a drive, go for a walk. Some of the best things that we can do is just change of environment.
Oh, yes, sir.
We have to change our environment. Another thing that we can do in relation to each other is we have to meet each other where we are. What's the portal of entry? Everything is trying to get in. Germs are trying to get in. Yeah, if you're going to be sick, the virus has to have a portal of entry. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, if you have agreement, you have love. So let's just say, Brother Muhyiddin, you're wearing a Steph Curry jersey. I'm not going to talk to you about LeBron James. I'm going to talk about Steph Curry, because there's something about you that made you choose that jersey. And if I can begin the communication process with you, and then that raises the affinity, the magnetism, the relationship between us and the rapport, then we have communication. And as we begin to build communication in reality between each other, then I could begin and we can begin to introduce other things in the conversation. So the portal of entry in this case would be that Steph Curry jersey that you're wearing, or whatever it is that someone has. You meet them where they are. And as soon as you're able to get in, then you begin to build relationships, and then you can teach, you can train, you can make suggestions. And then during their most difficult times, those suggestions will resurface. That's what the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan has done beautifully with us. He's found the portal of entry with his love, his spirit. And he makes good suggestions instead of evil suggestions. And then when we are on the sojourn of life and then circumstances seem to oppress us, then we reach back in something that he said, and it immediately gives us life and helps us to extricate or free ourselves from those circumstances. So those are some of the things you can do: hobbies, exercising, building relationships with people who are successful. If you're smart, you would ask the brother who's the motivational speaker, hey man, can you put your phone number in the chat? How can we reach Brother William Hollis? Why? If he's a motivational speaker, that means there's an art of inspiring, reaching, infusing, inducing other people through public speaking. So we don't want Brother William Hollis to leave this forum without first getting his information to the public. That's important. So those are some of the things that we can do. We want to know, where can we reach Brother David? If he's assisting a student regional minister, there's something about him with the command of the word that can help many of us and move us in the right direction. So we have resources. Those are some of the things that we can do, is plug people with resources and have the people like Brother William, Brother David, Brother Hassan, who's a nurse, to help people along the way and on their sojourn in life. That's what I would say to that question. Thank you, there, brother, for that question. I really appreciated that question.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Also, yes, I think my brother Desmond hit it right on the head. Really, change of environment. Change of environment is important. I mean, when you see the worst of society, when you see the worst of working in the emergency department, you see the worst. And you can't allow that to sit on you. So change of environment, there's exercise, but keep in mind, we're not birthed into a society by ourselves or into a world by ourselves. We're birthed into a world full of people. So one of the major ways of revigorating, energizing yourself is to do something with someone else. Have a companion. We have a whole mosque full of people, a whole community full of people that we can engage with, and or we can get some motivation from Brother Hollis here, since he's a motivational speaker. So there's a hobby, there's walking, there's seeing nature itself. For someone who's confined inside all the time, go outside. Someone who's always outside, find something inside. You watch a movie, watch a movie with someone. So there's things that we can do to assist ourselves, because what happens is, if we continue to stay in that predicament, then our minds, we start to victimize ourselves. We start to have these thoughts, our mind starts to talk to us. And a lot of times what it says is really, we start to victimize ourselves. We start to down ourselves. We start to just sit there like dust. And we don't become productive for anyone. And we start to victimize others. So, yeah, I would say you definitely do something with a friend or one of your loved ones. Get outside, go out to eat something, with a friend, because that's very helpful to have some other spirit other than yourself to energize you.
Yes, sir.
Praise be to Allah. Brother Hashim?
Pardon me, I was on mute. Oh, I
Yes.
didn't answer the question?
Yes, sir, please.
Oh, okay. Well, it wasn't my intention to answer anything, but okay.
No, I was asking if it was all right for me to respond. Yes, sir.
Oh, to Brother Mukadim's question.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Oh, that's Brother Mukadim. Brother Mukadim. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
That's okay.
Praise be to Allah. Well, to respond to the question, what do I do? First, I would say I pray. I strive to draw strength from and to be energized by the spirit and the presence of Allah through prayer and through study of His Word. That gives me peace, regardless to what's going on in my life and around me in my environment. I strive to stay focused on Allah, primarily in prayer and study, and rise above whatever negativity that may surround me. That's number one. I love to, like Brother Desmond said, you have to find the things that you enjoy, the good things, not the false outlets, getting drunk, getting high, these things are against health, right? And they can, of course, our nurses can tell us all about the physical side of that. But, spiritually, we have a lot of things that we do, like Brother Hassan used the word toxic. We have a toxic diet many times. We feed on and we have developed a liking for things that are toxic, things that are against health, things that are against the proper stability of our mind and our bodies. And so we have to change our diet. And so we have to develop a proper spiritual diet, feed on truth, feed on the word of God, feed on the knowledge of God. I love to, what takes stress from me, I love to spend time with my wife and my family, quality time. I love to be with my wife and to be in nature, in the sun. And just like Brother Desmond said, looking at nature, looking at beautiful things that are in the creation, feeding my mind on that helps to take stress from me. Looking at bodies of water. These things are things that I like. It may not be the same for you, but you have to find what is that thing that helps to put you in a state of peace. And that's an excellent point, as Student Minister Desmond said earlier. And so these are things that we have to do, but I would say that we have to get away from those things that cause stress. At the beginning, it was said in terms of stress being really from lack of duty. Part of our nature as a man is to be productive, as it was stated. And so we have to be productive men in order to truly be at peace and to be happy. We're not designed by Allah God to be happy and to be at peace doing nothing, being unproductive. So it's very stressful being unproductive. So how are we going to change that? Be more productive, do what is beneficial to self, to family, to community, to nation. And in doing so, doing good, then we're actually functioning in accord with the nature in which we're created. And the reward for doing that is to be at peace.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Beautiful.
And if anyone else has anything they'd like to say, they could go ahead.
Brother William, do you have anything to add to that question?
Yeah, I would say I got a quote that I use a lot when I'm speaking and I'm traveling. I say, I always tell individuals to get back to the child and lay it on their mother's lap. And I use that term because, that's when we dream. That's when we believed in something. And sometimes, life got a funny way of taking us away from who we truly are. So I believe, like Brother David said and Brother Desmond, it's getting out there doing things like, try things you used to do as a kid. Some things, it goes with dreams as well. A lot of us has let life take us away from who we are. We've given up on our dreams because we may think we're too old or we don't have it anymore. And I truly believe this. I truly believe as long as we have life and air in our body, we still have a possibility to be anything that we dream of becoming. And I believe in, like my great mentor says all the time, he said, Les Brown, he says all the time, he said, Will, the reason why most people don't reach their full potential is because of the things they think they need. And it goes back when I heard Minister Sharrieff tell me that the minister said everything that we have and every gift that we have was given to us in our mother's womb. And the object of life is to live full and die empty. That means leave everything that we have to give, every talent, every gift, everything on this earth. And it goes back to purpose. If you wake up every day and once you discover your purpose and you wake up every day, you'll find yourself screaming to the sun, rise, because you're ready to chase your dream. And I believe that the reason why most people don't do what they love anymore is because they're forced to do what they have to do every single day, as far as working on another person's dream, living somebody else's, pretending to live somebody else's life instead of living their true identity. And like I said, I believe the object of getting back to your true happiness is getting back to some of the things you used to do, as a child. I'm not saying act childish, but I'm saying do some of the things that you used to love to do as a child and see if that memory of that happy person that you were can come back into fruition in your life.
Beautiful. Praise be to Allah. Beautiful, beautiful answers from everyone. And I love how everybody answers kind of also connected to the notion of nature as well. Because, Master Fard Muhammad, this is something that I learned recently from listening to some of the accounts of the believers that were around at that time. But Master Fard Muhammad, he used to take the believers on walks through nature, like they would study and everything, but that's one of the things that he would do. He would take them, hey, let's go walk. And they would go walk through nature, and they just go outside, just get some sun. They just be out there just with God. You just stand out there in the sun. You're like, man, what are we doing? But he was showing them something, that this is just a natural way to get rid of the stress, and that's something that's true. So with that, this has actually been an absolutely wonderful, wonderful, wonderful episode of Rise Magazine Podcast. I mean, the discussion has been amazing. I enjoyed everybody's answers. Everyone answered so beautifully. It was really very enjoyable. I think it was actually might have been our longest episode, but it was definitely worth every extra minute that we spent discussing this wonderful topic. But before we close out, before we do that, I think that we have something that we have to hear from our wonderful editor-in-chief of Rise Magazine, whom we normally see earlier in the program, but today we're seeing her towards the end. So if the tech team can bring in our wonderful editor-in-chief of Rise Magazine, Sister Aziza. Praise be to Allah.
As-Salaam Alaikum. Again, in the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, I bear witness that there is no God but Allah, and Muhammad is his messenger. And I greet everyone who's watching in the greeting words of peace of As-Salaam Alaikum.
Alaikum salam, man.
And I just want to say that all the responses that I heard today were so beautiful. Thank you all so much who came on, Brother Desmond, Brother David, Brother William Hollis, Brother Hassan, Brother Mukadin. Thank you so much, Brother Hashim, for helping us to moderate the show. Praise be to Allah. It's so beautiful, and we really pray that those of you who are watching could take something away from the answers that were provided for you today. Before I go, I want to just read a poem that I've written dedicated to the Black man who daily experiences violence, who has to deal with just getting up after being knocked down numerous times. And just as I'll say, as a Black woman, witnessing it's something phenomenal, and it truly shows the godliness in the Black man. Whether people want to admit it or not, it's there. What other man do you know of who can continuously be knocked down and yet get back up each and every day, or get knocked down multiple times a day and continues to get back up each time? And so, for all the Black men who are watching, this poem is dedicated to you all and the beauty that Allah has given you. And I'll begin reading. Strong Black man, mighty Black man, long-suffering Black man, do you have any more limbs left to count the number of times the devil has ruined your garden? Do you ever paint pictures of what life scenery could have looked like, would have looked like, if your roots weren't yanked out of the ground? Do your hands often ache from raking away the residues of yesterday? Do flowers remind you of growth or decline, or maybe a little of both? Strong Black man, your resilience is intriguing. You swallow bullets the size of our enemy's bigotry, yet you blossom like a flower with thorns on its stems, pricking only those who get close enough to harm you. Mighty Black man, you are the seed in the core of our community, the fruit hanging beautifully upon the garden's tree. Please understand that when you ripen, a whole nation eats. Long-suffering Black man, I've learned that you and God share similar faces. When I think about your struggles, I see an image of endurance, and that in itself is enough godliness to shake the earth. And so once again, that poem was dedicated to all the strong, beautiful Black men. May Allah guide us all, and may He, for anyone who was watching who needed to hear this, may Allah really, really provide you with understanding and guidance. For those of you who are not registered members in the Nation of Islam, may Allah, may Allah God help you to get some understanding that you once didn't know before. And so do your research, and really, as everyone has stated, the different ways that you can better help your mental state. Try to practice those things. You don't have to commit suicide. You don't have to self-harm. There's a lot for you to do. There's a lot for you to live for. And I'm thinking we have the National Suicide Hotline at the bottom of the screen. If you feel like you're in a really bad state, please call the number. As Brother Desmond was saying, connect with, and Brother Hassan, connect with people in your community. And so if you feel like if you feel alone and like maybe there's people who don't understand, find someone who has similarities and really have a connection with them so that you can not feel like you're alone. There's information at the bottom of the screen of some of the brothers. You can check out their information and connect with them. On another note, please also show your support for Rise Magazine at www.risemagazineco.com. Once again, that's www.risemagazineco.com. For those of you who are watching, any brothers, any sisters who are watching, and you need something to do or you want to be creative, we're always looking for help. We could have help with the graphic department and the editorial department, social media department. There's so many things to be done. So if you're looking for something, if you want to show your creativity, please contact us at Rise Magazine Atlanta, and that's spelled out at gmail.com. Once again, that's Rise Magazine Atlanta at gmail.com. You'll find it on the screen. Also, as far as updates, we have our newest issue out with student minister Abdul Halim. Inshallah, we'll have that on the screen. We can get that on the screen. Here it is. So please make sure that you pre-order for that edition. You can go to www.risemagazineco.com. Once again, or not once again, but for those of you who would like to help us in the cause and what we're doing, please send a donation to our Cash App, and that's $Rise Magazine, to show your support. Once again, for everyone who's been watching and who may be contemplating suicide, who may be thinking about self-harm and feel like there is nothing to live for, please go back, rewatch this video, see what your brothers are saying about moving forward in life and having different coping mechanisms to really get through life in a time like this and in a time where there's so much violence around. You don't have to suffer silently. there's definitely people who understand, and you're not alone. So, Brother Hashim, I'm done, and you can take us from there.
Praise be to Allah. Thank you so much. And that was a beautiful poem, by the way. I didn't know that our editor-in-chief was also an accomplished poet. I didn't know that. I don't know if anybody else knew that, but I didn't know that. So that was actually an amazing poem right there. All praise to Allah. So with that, family, we've had an absolutely wonderful episode of the Rise Magazine podcast. Please support us. Come back, same place, same time, every Wednesday at 5:30. And please support us more than just with your viewership, though your viewership is what we need and we appreciate it, but we also need some financial support so we can continue to put on this amazing podcast, this amazing program that we know you love, because if you didn't love it, you wouldn't be watching it. So go to $Rise Magazine on Cash App. So that's hashtag, $Rise Magazine on Cash App. And please send whatever God has put in your heart to give us. It doesn't matter what it is, $1, $2, $200. Nothing is too big. Nothing is too small. Please support us. So with that being said, also don't forget to go to www.abdulsharrieff.com and get all of the books by our wonderful regional minister, Abdul Sharrieff Muhammad, such as Soldier in the Movement of Christ, Down is Not Out, that is the Omnibus Farrakhan, Divinely Guided and Connected to the Will. All of these wonderful books written by our wonderful student regional minister, Abdul Sharrieff Muhammad. So with that being said, family, thank you all for joining us today. We greatly appreciate your viewership. And with that, we're going to go ahead and close as we opened in prayer. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful. All praise is due to Allah, the Lord of the worlds, the Beneficent, the Most Merciful, Master of this day of judgment in which we now live. Thee alone we worship, and thine aid do we seek. O Allah, guide us on the right path, the path of those upon whom thou hast bestowed thy favors, and not the path upon whom thy wrath has been brought down, nor those who go astray. Ameen. All praise is due to Allah.